Welcome back! This is the Chelsea Football FanCast, and I am Stanford Chidge, and that man is Jonathan Kidd, with the professional actor wave. This man is Ross Mooring, who has been...
Put my jacket on.
He's put his jacket on. It's not because he's pulled, and it's not because he's going home. It's because his mic was making naughty sounds. Apparently it was rubbing on his Chelsea shirt. So sorry if you were experiencing a bit of distortion courtesy of Ross. But when he says anything, usually there is no distortion, because what he says makes sense to me. And we have the lovely Pablo, as well as the fantastic people on the benches over there. Now, this is time to really get right down and depressed. You know, we've been far too happy on this show, and I, for one, have had enough of it, and I feel the need to get depressed. So we're going to have to talk about the Basel game, because that's enough to make anybody depressed. No shot on target. We'll talk about that in a minute. But before we do, we're going to talk about what really happened according to Ross, because Ross has got his ratings for this game.
Yeah, there's not really a lot to say about the individual performances. I thought there were really only two players who had half-decent games. Cech made a string of good saves, got an 8. Mikel, I thought, was the only player who kept his positional discipline well in midfield. Most of the Basel attacks came from out wide. He got a 7. Everyone else got a 6. In most cases, low 6s. If I was going to give 5s, there might have been a few more for that one. And then Branner had a mental lapse for the Basel goal, of course, yes, and Oscar was all over the place tactically, so they both got 5s.
You know what? Don't be too down on yourself, because I didn't ask you for Basel ratings originally, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get any, so I checked them.
I did them at the time.
Yeah, but I checked them out on Sky, on their website, and they were far more mean than you were. You were way more generous than they were.
I mean, actually, I think the second half performance was pretty decent. Obviously, we didn't do anything in attack really, but we looked solid until
I think he'd settled for 0-0 then.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. But before we do, I mean, you know, I remember watching the game, and it
certainly wasn't as bad as the Newcastle performance. Put it that way.
Well, I don't either. I mean, you know, my opening comment, you know, I think I said this on Twitter when I started watching the game, was, you know, I thought we were playing Basel, not Barcelona, because and that wasn't saying we were rubbish. It was saying, actually, this lot have come at us like a train, and they looked good. They were pinging the ball around. They could have scored after 10 seconds with a really good. I mean, they
actually maintained the pressing for 90 minutes.
And they did, you know, they were no mugs. And it's
most of the time.
You know, they beat us at home. They beat Bayern Munich at home.
What happened with them playing Schalke?
Who knows? Thank God it did, because otherwise we might not be going through. But they were right at it from the off. So my question really is, are they that good, or did we make them look good, Ross?
Well, I think they're quite an experienced side in Europe, and you know they obviously do well in the Swiss league. I just think they're very hungry, and they're a technically good team, and you know there's not really like as there is with Bucharest. There's any particularly weak players, so they're a good side playing at home.
Yeah.
And they were charged up,
and they've had good results at home, as I said.
Yeah. And when you play in a weaker league where when you've got a strong team, you don't have to necessarily go all out for your league games, so you can spend weeks preparing for the big ones against teams like Chelsea, and you can pull out the stops for that. Whereas us, we're under pressure to perform every 3 days, really. So.
It's far more intense, and that's mentally tiring, I think.
Why didn't you change it round more, though, during the course of the game?
Rewarding the players that played well against West Ham.
But it was pretty obvious that they were really well out of sorts.
Well, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, you know, I think you alluded to this a minute ago, and I actually totally agree with you, because I actually thought, you know, if you could summarise that game up by saying, you know, we played like we didn't need to win it, and they played like they had to win it, and actually that was exactly the circumstances. And I just wonder, you know, do you think Jose went there for the draw?
He won't admit it, but
I think he did.
I think he saw the way the game was evolving, and I think he would have changed it had they scored. But I think after about 10 minutes of the second half, he thought, well, we're playing better, and I think we'll just get the 0-0.
And I mean, to be fair, you know, if we'd have hung out for a few more minutes, we might have done. But what, Ross, do you reckon he was going for the draw?
No, I don't think so. Because I think your first point about the sort of psychological factor about us not needing a win and them need. I think that was the driving force. I mean, the result actually didn't really matter in as much as long as whether we lost one or drew, as long as we beat Bucharest in the final game, we topped the group. So I think it was absolutely fine from that perspective. Although it's better to get a win, and we didn't play well.
But he stated himself he was hoping that we would win that, and then he could then rest players.
And
for
I'm sure he wanted to, but
when it's not a necessity, that's when the players start. Well, do I need to really go all out? Which of course they should do, but they didn't.
I think there was a lot of. I mean, he's a smart guy, and I think modern football management. I mean, Paul mentioned this really. When you're playing 3 massive games in a week, which you kind of are when you're at Chelsea's level. As a football manager managing that kind of circumstance, you'd have to be a major ball juggler. So you're gonna. What was funny about that, Ross? What was funny about that?
Nothing.
Dear me, you have to be a major ball juggler. I had the same kind of thing with my wife when I mentioned. Do you know that?
Is she a good ball juggler?
Yeah, very actually, as a ham. She needs to be. Anyway, this is apropos.
Did she use 3 or 2?
This is apropos of absolutely nothing. But there's one thing that's guaranteed to make her do what Ross did, which is to kind of giggle insanely for no reason at all. If you ever meet my wife again, Jonathan, just do this. Just go up to her and you go, "Budgie smugglers," and she just absolutely loses it. The fits of laughter, giggling, and tears come out.
Do you wear those?
No, of course I don't. But I mentioned them in relation to Shane Warne. And I can't even remember what the context was now. But I think he did the same thing on Test Match Special once and created the same kind of laughter. And then they had that advert, didn't they? The Foster's advert. Don't wear any budgie smugglers, mate. And that's what I did, and I said that. And she would just, every time I said it, she would just absolutely lose it. And Ross has about 25 words like that.
Lampsey.
Lampsey, yeah. What English Lampsey? If you say that in a Michael Ballack type accent, he'll lose it. It's great. He's the greatest corpser ever.
That happened on one podcast.
It did. Yeah. Ross has lost it. It's become a phrase in the podcast. Ross has lost it because Ross is uncontrollably giggling for about 5 minutes. Anyway, where were we?
Don't say ball juggler again.
Here's a question for you, ball juggler. Did Mourinho pick the right side, Ross?
For Basel? No, he didn't.
Well, it's easy
well
to
rescued,
say that. It's easy to say
well
that
rescued.
in retrospect, though, isn't it? But actually, off the back of a very impressive 3-0 win away from home,
That's what I love about you, Pablo. You're a professional to the last. You pulled us out there. We were struggling, and you came straight in.
But I think he should have done what he frequently does, which is just to change it all round.
Well, I expected him to.
He didn't. He just maintained the same level of incompetence.
Well, what? No, unfair. What I did?
No.
Yes.
Second half
terrible.
was better.
I don't
They
think
were
they were
about
as bad
4
as you
yards slower than Basel.
What I was cross about, like a lot of people, and what I didn't understand was why didn't Mata play? I thought,
I agree
this is a
completely.
game we
Perfect
don't
opportunity.
have to win.
Absolutely agree.
Perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
Right, so you like me, and I don't know, I mean, I'd be interested to know what the boys think, yeah?
What was the question?
You crossed that he didn't start Mata against Basel?
He probably should have done, really, shouldn't he?
Particularly because of the way that Basel played on Sunday.
All right.
Mata played on Sunday, sorry, what did I say? Basel?
Basel?
Basil faulty, yeah.
Don't mention
Basel Mata.
But to answer your question, I don't think it was so much the side.
Don't mention ball juggling.
No, don't mention the ball juggling.
I don't think it was so much the side. I think part of the problem was actually Oscar was...
Rubbish.
When we didn't have the ball...
He was pants.
Yeah, he was poor. When we didn't have the ball, he wasn't in any consistent position. He wasn't protecting...
He looks like a man who knows he's just put in a bad performance.
And as
he looked knackered, though.
He did, actually.
As such, the rest of the players seemed to have to compensate for him. The midfield was a lot more stretched. The press, there was no team pressing. It wasn't consistent.
To be fair to Oscar, though, he's had a lot of balls to juggle recently.
He has. He's been the major ball juggler.
He has, in fact. I mean, he's been juggling them between Stamford Bridge and Brazil.
Yeah.
On a frequent basis.
When it's come down to ball juggling, he's been the ball juggler.
Annoyingly,
there you go.
He's going. That's actually you're going red, Ross, and that's impressive in this set because we all look very pasty. Amazing. Anyway,
you two should get a room.
We should. No, we shouldn't. That was a very wrong thing to say. I didn't mean that in any, whatever sense.
To discuss tactics.
That's right, to discuss tactics. Oh, no, the benches have disappeared. Where have they gone? They've left. What have you done with my people?
Well, look, there I am. Look, I'm just by that.
Maybe they're invisible.
There.
Okay.
I had a seat there.
The benches are wearing an invisible cloak. They've nicked it off Harry Potter. Oh, no, they're back. I kind of preferred it like it was a minute ago, actually. Anyway, what I want to ask... Oh, don't give me those evils.
When they closed the when they were building the East Stand, and they knocked the old East Stand down, my dad had a seat right in the middle,
really?
and they moved it across into the middle there. Yeah,
How about
and I was
that?
on the benches, and I'd wave at him.
Oh,
Hello, Dad.
it's lovely. People have liked that. They've noticed that I've used that nice still of the old West Stand behind the benches. It'd be nice to see the benches again for people at home. But what I would like to ask them is, what do you think? Did you think Mata should have started against Basel?
I think maybe Jose had him in mind for Southampton, and maybe that's why he didn't play.
No, that's a very astute answer, Mr. Silverman. I like that. What about you, Gary?
I didn't watch it.
But you've got an opinion. Would you have liked to have seen Mata start against Basel?
Not really. No, I think Oscar's been playing better than...
Okay, that's all right. Nobody's going to kill you for saying that. Dan?
Yeah, I
not
expected
even me.
Mata to play. I thought he'd start.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised when I saw the team. I thought, perfect game for Mata to come in and take a claim.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. But what I didn't expect though, and this is to the benches and everybody out there, what I didn't expect was the monumental amount of vitriol spouted out at the team and at Jose because he didn't pick Mata. It seems that a lot of people out there who purport to be Chelsea supporters have actually decided they're not Chelsea supporters. They are Juan Mata FC supporters.
The thing is
when has Juan Mata been Chelsea Football Club?
The thing that's been totally forgotten through this whole Mata scenario is when he has played this season, he hasn't actually played that well. I mean, he may be out of form, and obviously the more he plays, the better he'll play, but it's not. He hasn't suddenly been the answer every time he's been on the pitch. So
How often have all three of them played in the first team?
What, you mean the fabled Mazakar, which is
Indeed,
banned,
the
that's
supposed
double pivoted off that
three
one.
amigos, even though none of them are Spanish
even
other
worse.
than Mata.
Yeah.
Well, how many? I think that's one of the first games, isn't it? this
It is,
season?
I think. I think it is.
The Sunday game, not the Basel game, obviously.
I mean, I've had a suspicion that maybe... I mean, the thing is, it's very hard for people because they can't understand why we're not playing Mata all the time, because clearly Mata is a fantastic player in some respects. He's probably the most skillful player we have. He's got the ability to... put a, pass through a, needle through a whatever, the eye of a needle, and all of that. And he is brilliant. And I mean, we were saying on the show last year repeatedly, this guy could be the next Gianfranco Zola.
Easy for you to say.
It's not easy for me to say at all. The next Zola, that would be a lot easier for me to say. And so I love Mata. I think he's a superb player. And we saw him play last year, Mata, Hazard, Oscar, and they, as a three, looked fantastic.
Well, under Di Matteo, it was superb.
Even under
the
he who should not be named.
Yes, even under the...
But the fact of the matter is...
I like to call him the Git. I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, I think you are allowed to say Git.
Yes, I can. Yeah, I like to call him that. I can name him.
You can.
Yeah.
But we are playing under a different manager. We're playing different kind of football. So it's all different. So you can't expect that to happen now.
No, indeed.
But you can't coat... You can't... don't coat the players off. Don't coat the club off. Don't coat other supporters who might have an opinion about, well, he's a lovely, great player and I love him to pieces, but you know what? Maybe Jose knows a little bit more about football than me. Forget it. And I'll tell you for why, Jonathan. You teased this beautifully. There were even people on Twitter saying #Jose out. Now, OK, I know that a lot of them were Scousers and Spurs fans because I went in and checked because that's the kind of nosy, devious person that I am. And then I abused them and blocked them, as I always do. But there were people genuinely saying that who purport to be Chelsea supporters. And if, can we have the picture up of Jose and this other person? You'll know what... OK, hands up. Who would you like to manage Chelsea Football Club? Is it the bloke on the left? Or is it the bloke on the right?
Excuse me, which perspective have we got? Yeah. Which left and who's left?
We need to make
I don't want to be confused here.
Yeah.
Can we say, is it the one with the beard and glasses?
Is it the one?
Or the one without the beard and glasses?
Is it the one?
The handsome, fantastic one, or the total git one?
Yeah. Is it the one who has got lovely silver fox kind of crew-cut hair with a lovely kind of casual designer,
who's
black
one of the best
sporty
coaches
jacket,
in the world,
who is very good-looking and eminently special?
Yes.
Or is it the fat failure wearing glasses with a goatee that my grandma could wear? No, I don't think so, is it? No, I think it's the one on the left. It would be... Do you really want Rafa back? There were people saying, I swear, as I live and breathe, there were people saying they would rather have Benitez back managing my football club. There were people saying this. Shocking. Goodness, I will. Another moose will die if that happens. That's all I'm saying.
They weren't saying it after the game at Upton Park.
No, exactly. I mean, it's just criminal. Go and support City.
Well, that's the problem with Twitter, isn't it? Is you just
Twitter?
too many
twits.
brainless twits there.
Yeah. Oh, dearie me. It just beggars belief. I mean, go and support City. Go back to supporting Liverpool. Go back. I do not want you supporting the club that I love if you want Benitez back. OK, that's all I'm saying. All right?
Good old benches.
Benches, do your job. There we go. I think you just have. Right, look.
That was a flashback to last season.
It was. Only he does this to me. He's like Heineken for Chidge ranting, isn't he? Unbelievable. How many minutes have we got left, Greg? 2 minutes. All right. So we better talk about something else before I go completely potty. Rubber man, yes, Ramires. That was shocking, bless him. I love Ramires to pieces, but sometimes he has this unbelievable ability to like put in a really bad performance where he kind of like runs around a lot. I don't know Jose likes this, and then falls over.
That
I mean,
bit
the one where he missed the shot. I know.
Oh. He was doing it first half yesterday as well.
I know. Well, I don't think he played very well first half. I'm agreeing with you there. I think he played brilliantly second half. But what is it about him? I mean, talk about consistency and inconsistency like we were earlier. I mean, Ramires needs to be more consistent, I think, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, I think they all do.
Love him as I do. Rubber man, I call him.
Well, he was very rubbery for the movement before he passed the ball across. Before he passed the ball across.
I think you're rubbery too, Jonathan.
We ought to get a room.
We should.
When he did that move into the corner and beat about 4 players, beat the same player 3 times.
And himself.
And then, and then toe poked it for Barr to tap in.
I do love it. I mean, look. I make mistakes. Look, we've done about 300 shows, God, near enough. I'd say at least 150 of them have been absolutely rubbish. So, we all make mistakes, even me, I know.
What, half of them?
And I love him. Greg's disagreeing. He says they're all gold, mate. They are. He's
sweet.
right. He didn't say that. OK, you're fired. Anyway, actually, you're not fired because the show will obviously not go on
After the show, you're fired.
After the show. Look, just to wrap this up, I mean, as I said, we're going back to consistency again. There is a lack of it. I am worried. But what I'm more worried about is this, a whole game without a shot on target. That is not good, Pablo.
No, it's not ideal when your striker goes off on a stretcher for a start, is it?
Well, we had another one to put on.
Yeah, I know, but he hadn't played for weeks.
No, true, because he was coming back from injury.
Yes, I mean, it wasn't an ideal situation, but yeah, you would hope for...
Hey, do you know how long Eto's out? Do you know how long Eto's out for?
No, I don't.
None of us know. No?
I do, yeah.
OK, quickly.
Well, it looked like a minor thigh strain from the armchair, so I'd guess about 2 weeks.
A mono thigh strain.
Well, look, Eto, get well.
I thought it was his groin.
OK, ball juggling. Go away.
Exactly.
Right, we've got to go for a break, sadly, because I was really just enjoying that. But we do wish Eto'o all the best, because I think he's been playing really, really well recently. But after the break, it's going to be time for us answering your questions on You're on CFFC.